Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual breakfast sessions. I'm Larry Sashin, and today we have a couple people here to talk about the Culinary Education School at Nassau Community College. But before we do that, let's thank the people who are paying our bills. Ed Flanagan and the Error Group. Listen, if you're tired of paying all those employee taxes to the federal government, call Ed Flanagan and the Error Group. They have a 125 cafeteria program that is sponsored by the IRS that'll help you claw back some of that money that you're paying out. So Ed Flanagan, the Error Group, and back to this show. Nassau Community College. Know it very well. Took a course there back in the 70s, but it's grown. But before we go into that, why don't we introduce ourselves? Patricia, why don't you start?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Yes, this is Nassau Community College. My name is Particia Bove. I am the lead culinary instructor. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only culinary instructor here. We're a small program. Nassau had a hospitality program for many, many years. About 10 years ago, they decided to expand it into a culinary program. The program began around 2017. I was brought in, well, actually, was brought in as a sub, but that's another story. But I was brought in as a sub, and I started with the program in 2017. We started with one cohort, 12 students, in our old hospitality kitchen, and we have grown since then. We have approximately 85 to 100 part-time and full-time culinary and hospitality students. Regarding the culinary part of it, we run about 3 cohorts. That's about all we're able to do. They're very small. As we say, we're small, but we're mighty. All right. We try to, we're growing. We're trying to grow it. We are the only game in town, which has been very interesting to me as someone who has, been on and off teaching culinary over the past 15 years or more. I've seen the culinary programs on Long Island disappear. So we are literally the only game in town. The only place to go, we're located about 20 minutes from Manhattan by train. You have to go well into Manhattan to go to, I hate to say ICE anymore, but it's, the Institutional Culinary Education, or you have to go up into Monroe. Monroe has a program, and that's kind of a hike for our students, okay? Our
Yes.
students pull from Nassau and Queens. Occasionally, we get somebody from Suffolk. Suffolk Community, which is the smaller community college out into Suffolk County, they closed their culinary program. And then the certificate programs that popped in and out of Long Island are all closed. So we truly are the only game in town. So we're looking to expand. We have a waiting list right now of 85 students. They're being
Wow.
interviewed right now. I don't know where we're going to put them, as we say. We have 85 students. They're being interviewed right now by our coordinator, Deirdre Gibson. And we just waitlist them and we do the best we can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Todd, tell us who you are and what you're doing.
My name's Todd Barry. I own and operate Moby Dick's Restaurant, which is a seasonal seafood restaurant here in Wellfleet out on Cape Cod. We just opened for the season, May 1st, and this is our 44th season in business. We're a simple New England clam shack, but we built a nice business because we have an absolute commitment to quality. We buy the absolute best of everything, and we don't cut any corners, and we work real hard to take incredible care of our guests and make it an extremely wonderful experience. For us, it's a lot more than fish and chips, chowder, and lobster rolls. It's the experience. And would you like me to talk a little bit how I met Patricia and got involved with Nassau?
Please. Yes, please, because that's the proof of the pudding.
Okay. Well, it was Patricia and her husband Frank were up here on the Cape visiting, and they came into Moby's, and that was in I think August of 2018. Patricia, am I correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think I had done about a year here already. So I came in, knowing that I was like looking to place students, and yeah, so that sounds right. 2018.
Anyway, August is our busiest month, and I saw Frank and Patricia, and we started talking, and I found out about the culinary program, and it got me interested because, as an owner operator, I'm always looking for good help. When I was in college, I spent a semester in England, and I go there frequently. And I've developed a relationship with a program in Lincolnshire, and the kids are studying hospitality management. And as part of their degree, they have to do a work placement. So I've set that up so they can come to Moby's in the summer. And we do a lot of outreach. And when I met Particia, I was very, very intrigued because, her students are interested in making it a career. And so I thought, well, why don't we bring some of them up? And what I did that fall, and I do pretty much every fall, is after we close, I go down and I do a presentation to the students. And then through the fall and spring semesters, Particia gets to know the students. And then I usually come back down late February, early March, and interview the students that are interested. In the 9 years, Particia, we've had a number of your students come up. And I'll tell you, for the kids from England and Nassau and wherever, it's a great work experience, but it's also a great life experience. For the kids like in the New York metro area, to get out of that area and come to a new place, and learn how we do things, learn about seafood, and be on Cape Cod in the summer. And it's a great experience career-wise. But it's also a life experience. And I've seen the students, and I think you'd agree, Particia, when they come back, they're changed. The development of their confidence and their knowledge and their skills. It's a fantastic program. We've had some great kids come up. I think they've really benefited from it. In fact, Particia, later today, I'd like to talk to you about scheduling for me to come down this fall.
There we go.
Always welcome. Always welcome.
So let's get back to the program itself. But, and I have to question you. Don't you know that the younger generation doesn't want to work? Isn't that what you hear all the time? But let me go back to Particia first, and then we'll swing back to that. Particia, so Nassau Community College, it seems like it's a fort in a wasteland of culinary education. Okay. Besides the fact that you're the only show in town, why go to Nassau Community College?
I am very proud of one thing that we can do here. Todd's been here. Todd knows that sometimes I feel like we're keeping the place together with, Band-Aids and glue and old foie gras and whatever we have, right, to hold this thing together. But one thing I have, and I've been in other culinary programs, I have about an 85% place rate. I make sure that any student that I have, now granted, look at the statistics. I have a smaller amount than CIA. Okay. I don't have hundreds of students. Okay. But if I'm graduating 12 or 15 a year, which we are now, we got about 12 people leaving us in May. I would say about 85% of them have really nice jobs. Like I work really hard to get these people placed. I've been, prior to the program, you and I were speaking, and I've been here my whole life. I've been, chefing around for a lot of years, and I'm in a lot of networking organizations, private networking organizations, that we just pass information back and forth. I get phone calls every day. You got somebody for me, whatever. I try really hard. I guess it's bringing up that old psych degree. I try really hard to match the student with the job. Todd knows we have so many conversations. Many students are good, but are they ready to get out of their house and go live with Todd? You know what I mean? Because Todd provides wonderful employee housing. How many times do we say this student isn't ready, right? We've had that conversation. Maybe they're ready on the line, but they're not ready maturity wise to kind of be, living away from home yet. So I take a lot of time placing people where they belong, matching them with chef mentors, because let's face it, they only have me for 2 years. And this program is a little heavy on the hospitality side, as not as heavy on the culinary side of other programs that I've worked with. So I try to prepare them as much as I can, but how much can you really do, right? You have to get them out there. They got to get their feet wet. Baptism by fire is like I tell them to do. Get in there, and I try to match them with mentors, not just their first bosses, but really with mentors that will take them in. And sometimes it gets a little exhausting for me. I get a lot of phone calls from the students as well as from their mentors about how they're doing, what they're doing. We kind of make a joke here that nobody ever leaves us. Nobody ever graduates. I don't know what's going to happen. It's getting worse and worse. They're getting bigger and bigger, more and more people. I have rules about how to text me, not at 2 a.m. kind of deal. Um, but I think that's the best thing that I can say about this program. Because we're small, we can coddle you, we can listen to you, we can hear you on what you need. Another thing that's really big is that when I went to culinary school, everything was training you for fine dining. That's not right anymore. You know what I mean? We have a lot of students we're encouraging to go into healthcare, and we have a lot of healthcare people coming to us asking for people. And it's looking kind of good there. I mean, they're getting their benefits, they're getting decent money, they're hiring skilled people. It's becoming nice. We're telling them, think about purchasing. I did come from Cisco Foods. Everybody who works at Cisco Foods has a love-hate affair with Cisco, right? But I've actually gotten a student into Cisco. He's doing phenomenal. I know I'm laughing too. I don't know how he's doing it. It's a different world, but he wanted it. So I got it for him. I coached him through the interviews and he got the position. Um, we'll see what happens in 5 years as I tease him all the time. But whatever you want, we try to do. So we're, like I said, we're small, but we're mighty. We have a great support staff here. You saw my TA. She's helping me get online here. She was a student, Floor. Todd knows Floor. Floor came up. She worked at Winslow's though.
That's our other restaurant in town.
Yeah.
Hey, Todd,
there's
what do
actually-
you what do you find when you get her students? What makes her kids different or kids are what makes her kids ready to go? What do you find?
I find that they're very, very motivated, and they want to learn. And the two things, learning about seafood, like I mentioned, we have a commitment to quality, and they can learn all about seafood: oysters, clams, steamers, lobster, striped bass, swordfish, codfish, where we get it, why it's good quality. So they're highly motivated and hardworking. And as we come into season, the end of June, July, and August, we get very, very busy. And so, the motivation is wonderful because, they're hit with a lot of stuff, learning, the different seafoods and so forth, and learning how we operate. And we give them the opportunity to work every station here and to really hone their skills. So like I said, I go down and do a presentation, and then Particia gets to know them over the winter. Then I go back down and interview the ones who are truly interested. So when they come up here, they're excited to be here, and the enthusiasm is contagious. And we like to encourage that enthusiasm. The learning and the development of their skills for all the doing all the stations we have. I think it's really, really, it's mutually beneficial for Particia's students, Nassau community, and also for Moby's. And I can't say enough. And Particia and I have developed a great relationship, and we work well together. And I definitely like to continue it. And I sure hope you feel the same way, Particia.
Absolutely. And again, just to say why would people want to come here? I've been out there, I've been in other programs, and I think most importantly, I know what restaurants need. I know what they need. Okay. I adjust the curriculum. I lord over the curriculum.
So hold on. What do they need?
They need, I send every student out with a Surf Safe Manager certification already. That's huge. Sometimes I feel like my students get jobs just because they walk in with that certificate. That's a lot of work for me to certify every single one of them with manager, not food handler, with manager. I also make sure that they're tap or tip certified. So they go out with the alcohol, they go out with the Surf Safe, they go out with an allergen certification because that's so important these days. They know how to handle the front. They know how to handle the back. They can float between the front and the back if they need to. Not every personality is for that, but at least we give them somewhat training. And then I try to see where they'll be best. How many times, Todd, did I always say, you can always throw this one in the front if things get sticky, right? We've spoken about that. You got to be a swing worker in restaurants. You got to be able to multitask into it. So I adjust the curriculum in to know. Listen, I loved when I went to culinary school. I loved garde manger. I made galantines. I cured bacon. They don't need to know how to do that. They're going to buy the sausage. I think as much as I joke about my time at Cisco, it was a wonderful time to learn, to be on the manufacturer side, to be on the corporate side, to understand product. And I teach them that. I teach them product. I teach them how to buy. I teach them, I always make a joke. I'm like, I'll make Cisco rep cry, right? Didn't I tell you that once, Todd? When we were eating, I'm like, I'll make your Cisco rep cry. I was teasing him about something. So I teach my students too. I'm like, guys, they're shocks. I was a shock. I know I was a shock. I said, I will teach you how to purchase, because if you don't know how to purchase, you're not going to stay in business.
So what are some of the, without giving away the secret sauce, what are some of the keys to buying? Is it pitting Cisco against US
No,
Foods and
no, no, no,
PFG?
no, no,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
You don't have to do that. You
Okay.
have to be an educated consumer in a sense. You have to understand what it's a little bit more. I kind of show them a little bit more between labor and buying something. Like, do you want to buy the shrimp peeled already, or do you want to pay somebody to peel the shrimp? All right. Do you want to buy the broccoli florets and pay a couple of cents more, or do you want to buy the whole broccoli and then pretend you're all going to make broccoli soup? It's like I try to make them understand, the culinary math to it. Try to business. I was a business person. I have a business even now. I own a private consulting business. It's called For the Love of the Plate. I go out there, I serve safe, certify people. I'll do these kind of things. No, I'm not an anti any vendor, but you have to be able to protect yourself, be able to speak, because they kind of train you, honestly. Listen, we can smell blood. We can smell it when you're out there as a vendor,
What about the impact of technology, front of the house, back of the house, and how do you integrate that into what you're teaching? I mean, that's all I see. Like, we'll be at the NRA show this weekend. That's all I see is tech.
I don't know where it's not going to go away. Let's put it that way. We had a lot of conversations during the pandemic. Unfortunately, we started right before the pandemic, and then we got really, bopped down again. That's why they haven't finished our buildings yet, and we're struggling with old equipment because just everything went off the rails. But during that time, there was a lot of conversation in the hospitality and culinary business. Oh, is anybody ever going to come out again? People are going to want to just stay at home, DoorDash and all this stuff. And I actually took a little backlash, because I went against that. I said, if you look at history, people go out more after something like this. We had the roaring 20s after the flu epidemic. Okay. After the war, people want to go out. They want to party. And I think that's exactly what happened. You see more people going out. There's plenty of people going out. The economy is hurting. I don't know where we're all going with that. But they said that what I was told years ago was, they said, oh, technology is going to take the place of hospitality people. No, I don't believe that. It's going to be a big tool. I don't know how AI is actually going to fit in. I don't know, maybe McDonald's is going to put robots in there, but I think that a place like Moby's, that people go to socialize. The first day that I went to Moby's, my version of how I met Todd, that's Todd's version. You got Todd's version. So I give you my version on how I met Todd. We were driving down Route 6, and I look over, and there's this place just in the middle of nowhere, and there's like 75 people standing outside. And I said to my husband, pull over. I have to know why everybody's standing outside. And I get the eye roll because he's not in the culinary business, so he just tolerates me, right? So we pull over, we get online, and we are just having the greatest time online. It's like Disney World, right? Everybody's talking to each other. Todd's girls, I call them Todd's girls, the girls in the front, they're like handing out menus and everybody's talking. We start speaking to the people in front of us. When we get up to the front to be set, they ask how many people, and the couple in front of us says 4. They turn around, they said, join us. So I'm like, this is nice. So we go in. Now we have new friends. We actually still talk to them, right? We go in, we sit down, and then this whole experience was great. So when I got up to, walk around the restaurant, see what's going on, I see a guy standing there, and I said, you know what? He must be the owner. He looks like the owner. So I walked over and I said, hi. I introduced myself. I told him what I did. And that's, and then we started talking. Then everything that Todd said was true. And then we opened it up. But I did something that maybe Todd doesn't know. I might have told him before. I went back the next day. And I sat quietly when it was like, not rush hour, it was like an off lunchtime. And I just sat in the back and I watched. I watched how the wait staff interacted with each other. I watched as much as I could with the kitchen. You have to realize I'm responsible for sending people up there. I have to know what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. And I just liked what I saw. I saw people, I saw students, I saw the wait staff solve their own problems. And that's kind of a flag that I was looking for. If they dropped something, they didn't panic and worry that they were going to get screamed at. I sat there for a while and I sat there and I drive my husband crazy, I know. And I sat there and I did it. And then I came back again before we left and I said to Todd, let's do this. I said, come down in October and let's start this. And we were nothing. And I owe a lot to Todd because nobody wanted to work with us. We were a 12-person culinary program. Okay. And I always said to him that I would always be loyal, right, Todd? I always give you my best people. I always send up the best people. I said I would be loyal. So
Todd,
somewhere in the Cape is not a bad gig.
No, it's not. Todd, so once they come to you, you've been handed this student, you've interviewed them, you've seen them, I guess, a couple times before you hire them. How do you integrate them into your system?
Well, they when they get here, we get them into where they're living, and then for the first few days, we have them follow one of our more experienced people. And this goes beyond just the restaurant. It's where the laundry is, where the grocery store is, showing them around town, around the restaurant, how we do things. And we hold their hand, and then, teach one station, a second station, third. We expose them to, as many things as they want. We'll never make anyone do something they don't want to do, but we give them the opportunity. It's a lot of one-on-one training and hand-holding, and so they don't feel pressured or stressed. If I may get back to the question you asked Patricia a minute ago about AI and tech and all in this business, we'll see how that plays out. But I absolutely believe that, again, it's all about the experience, and people are social creatures. And, to eat and drink, people want to go out and do that. And again, it's about the experience for our guests and for the students that come up here. And that's what we try to do here at Moby's, is to make it an incredible experience for the staff, for Patricia's students, for the people that come into Moby's. And I'd like to think that we've generated a lot of very positive relationships. So I think I answered your question and then added a little icing on the cake to it.
My question is really
Last question, Fred.
About Toast, Square, the POS system, the inventory management system, the loyalty program that you run on a tech platform. It's more about how students today have to vet their way through all of those pieces as well as the job itself.
Yeah, well, to interrupt you real quick, my POS system is Micros, which I've had since 2002.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it. I think that since Oracle has taken over, their focus is more towards the chains and larger national accounts. And from what I hear, I'll have the micro system for a few more years, and then I need to figure out where we go from there. And I can't really go beyond that right now. Mm-hmm. In terms of my kitchen manager does an absolute fantastic job. We use a program called Margin Edge, which I think this is the third year we've used it. I use QuickBooks Online, and my accountant who I work with introduced me to Margin Edge. And my kitchen manager uses it, and it flags you on pricing. It helps us, we put all our menu prices in, so I know my food costs on a weekly basis and sales and so forth. And I feel like we're just really learning Margin Edge, but so far I'm extremely happy with it. Now,
is that part of what I'm asking? Is that part of the education process? Do kids today need to know how to work those tools as well?
It gives them an edge. I mean, these students, the more they're exposed to, the more they learn, the better off they are in a very competitive world. I mean, I know the help situation is tough in the industry, but the more they're exposed to, the more they learn, the better chance they have to excel. Would you agree with that, Particia?
Yes. And if I could just add one that, again, not that I'm always going back and saying we're too small, but right now we don't have the funds, the support to put in a technology kind of class or program. I wish we could. That would be wonderful for the future. I actually will go back and speak to my chairperson about that. We'll see what happens. This is how I'm kind of dealing with it now. Since there's so many different options, and the technology is changing so quickly, we just tell them go out and learn where you are. We could train them on one system and then they walk into a place and it's a different system. So what good would it be? It's just moving so rapidly that we can't keep in touch with it. And these kids are born with cell phones in their hands. I mean, they learn quick with the tech. So, we're figuring that's kind of, they're on their own. Right now here, unfortunately, I'm going to tell the truth, they're kind of on their own. This program hasn't breached that yet.
Okay.
I will
Okay,
say
listen.
I will
Go
say
ahead.
this about
Finish, Todd.
I'm sorry, I will say this about technology. If I have a question about computer, like we use Sonos here for music or anything, I ask one of the staff because they know more about computers than I do, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as always, time is our enemy. And although we can go on for another 3 hours, except Todd has some things to do, we have to call this the end. So, but before I do that, let's thank the sponsors, Ed Flanagan and the Error Group. Listen, if you've been paying for things, you just look at the box you pay, you look at the invoice you pay, you look at the invoice, and you go, is this the price I agreed to this? If you're worried about, are they delivering exactly what they're supposed to deliver to you at the exact price you're supposed to pay, or I've had the same contract for 10 years. Is it the right contract? Call Ed Flanagan, the Error Group. Their people will sift through your invoices, sift through your contracts, and they will tell you, listen, they've overcharged you here, they've undercharged you here. You can do better with this company. And it's all on the cuff. Whatever they save you, they take a piece of, and that's it. So call Ed Flanagan and the Error Group. This was a great show. It was a great show because it was filled with contact, and it was also a great show because I didn't have to do anything, and you people took the bull by the horns and led us through it. But before we leave, I want you to give that one little tidbit of information. Particia, why should people go to Nassau Community College?
They will find the support. They will, we look at each student individually. We get to know each student individually. We will almost tailor their program, their individual experience here based on that. And I think Todd could even back me up on this because I've seen a few students come in. Remember, we don't have droves of them coming in. We're still manageable in a sense. Look at somebody like Eric and Sarah that came up to you last year, right? Sarah was behind in the program because she had transferred from CIA, and I knew she really needed a good opportunity, and to be honest, she needed a place to live too, right? Remember, we had talked about that. So I manipulated her schedule. I made her jump over certain hurdles with the permission of Deirdre Gibson, the coordinator, and I personally trained her and personally trained Eric Lopez to be prepared to go to be with Todd. And they both did phenomenal, especially Eric. Eric ended up working at both Winslow's and with Moby. So that's a lot of personal service that you're going to get here. We really hold their hands and create what they need in order for them to be successful. And I think that's the best we can offer right now.
Thank you. So Todd, when somebody hands you a resume and it says they did the culinary course at Nassau Community College, what does that mean to you?
Well, my antenna goes up right away because I know Particia very well, and I know that first of all, she screened them, and I would only be getting an application if it was someone who had a genuine interest and passion for the business. And then I'll agree, the personal contact and the personal service that Particia provides, we like to think we do here at Moby. So that there's a lot of one-on-one working with them. And Sarah and Eric are wonderful young people, and I think they learned a lot. They're just exceptional individuals, and I think it was a good experience for them. And that's why it works really well, I think, for both Nassau Community and for my business. So,
okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Fred, what do you got to say?
Industry's in very good hands with people like Particia.
Thank you.
Period.
All right.
yep.
That's short and sweet, to the point. It has been a pleasure speaking to you all. It enlightens me. It should enlighten the people who are listening that there is a place right around the corner that you can get your basic skills and the skills to get a job. And that's why you go to college now, just to get a job. And the job, obviously, for what I hear, the training is good. So before we say goodbye, I just want to say two things. Everybody, we'll be back again next week. And I want to thank everybody for being here today. But the two things I want to say is everybody, stay positive, test negative, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.